There we go. I'm going live by myself. All very exciting. Hello, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, all very exciting stuff. You'll be happy to know, since our last live, that I have now finally got my contraption with me. Now, I know you're thinking, Ben, what is this for? Or when I was used to, flying around doing my speaking, having a great time, I used to love this, so I wouldn't have to click. And now I've been testing it. I'm hoping it's going to work, but I'm actually going to be able to click through stuff as we walk through the content today, which is quite fun. I'm in a pretty good mood. Just got back from my honeymoon over the weekend. Got back on Sunday. Now we're on Tuesday, so I've had a nice little break for the bank holiday Monday, and we're ready to rock and roll with another live here, diving into building a six-figure consulting business with zero marketing experience. So I'm actually pretty excited for this topic. I know when I was chatting to my marketer, we've been speaking to a lot of different people recently, especially those that are quite, tech savvy, good on their product. They know what they're doing, but they just have no idea from the marketing standpoint. So I thought we would just kind of share what we do, explain a little bit of the ins and outs to see if you can get any value from it. So I really do hope that you find today useful. If you've got any questions as we go throughout today, I'm going to suggest you kind of put it in the chats, depending on kind of where you're watching from. If you can, if you're listening live, feel free to kind of put something in just to make sure I can see you guys and hear what's going on, so that I can answer questions and do it live. I mean, I can obviously chat, and I've done days worth of talks. Dr. Harish, hi, nice to see you. There we go. We got someone in there. So obviously there's a lot of different things that we can speak about today, but what's most important for me is giving you guys the value that you need to really move forward. So with that said, I think we're just going to dive straight in. I'm going to keep this as best I can short and sweet, but we'll see how many questions there are, and we will rock and roll thereafter. All right. And those joining on Instagram, do make sure if you want to pop over to YouTube or LinkedIn, just so you can see slides, because I've prepped, because we're ready to rock and roll. All right. So today we're going to be going on to 8 steps to obviously scale your consulting business. There's a few different elements here that I want us to go through, and I'll be kind of dipping back and forth, kind of sharing my story. So I want to take you guys on a little bit of a roadmap. I'm going to make sure this works now. Boom. Oh, that's exciting. See, my hands there. There we go, back and forth. So one of the first steps, obviously, about cloning yourself. And we're going to be going through this shortly, and there's 7 other steps that I'm going to walk you guys through. And it's just worth thinking about and having in mind, because a lot of the times we miss steps or we don't do them well, which causes us and our business to stagnate. So I just want you to be able to understand kind of where we're going and what we're doing to really help you move forward. If you're joining this and you have no idea who I am, welcome. Hello, my name's Ben. A little bit about me. So I used to fly around the world quite regularly. Since COVID, haven't been doing it that much, set up obviously the home office, and really just haven't started speaking. I think my last talk was in 2019 for about 500 people for HSBC, saying that the world was it was like, I think the topic was on creating radical change and how do we deal with that? And turns out it actually happened. So there you go. So I've obviously done TED Talks, I've done events for a lot of different people, and I consult worldwide with different businesses. And ultimately, I've built multiple 6-figure businesses, both offline, online. I'm helping run a commercial real estate business as well as at the moment. I've helped 500 companies, and I've worked with about 400 plus different founders to date to really help them to scale up their businesses. Now, why am I telling this? Because I've been around the block. I'm not someone that is just kind of sharing with no experience. I want to really show you how I've changed my business and what I've done online, because I used to do everything offline. So I want to make sure that you guys have all the tools and at least the framework needed so you can actually start to move things forward in hopefully a much better way. So some people that we've helped, making 6 times more money with only a third of his team, that's pretty cool. And 23K in 3 months was pretty dope, given the fact that he made about 3K the year before. So that was a pretty good ROI. So let's start walking through some of this content so you can have a bit more of an understanding about exactly how to do this. So the first step that we usually tell people is you want to be able to clone yourself. Now, what do I mean by clone yourself? Well, as a business owner, if we take a step back, very often you may be stuck as the bottleneck, or you're a solopreneur, especially if you're not at the 6-figure mark yet. You're probably doing most of the stuff yourself. Now, what's cool is that there's a lot of AI tools that are available now, and our aim is really to clone yourself in your business so you have a second version of yourself, which is pretty cool. So how do we do that, and what do we actually do? Well, think about this. Most business owners will spend 20% of their time on the business and about 80% of their time doing admin. So Translated, in a 40-hour work week, you're spending about 8 hours on the business and 32 hours doing admin and trying to get stuff done. Now, if we double your efficiency, what does that mean? It means we reduce the admin by half so you can spend more time on the business. Now, you think you probably get twice as efficient. And this is what's really interesting, is actually it goes from working 8 hours on the business to 24 hours working on the business. So really you have 3 times more time to work on your business, which has an exponential impact. And I don't think that people realize that enough. When you can start to win back your time and focus on the right areas, it can really help you move forward. And this is why we start with this, because I want to make sure that you're spending time on what matters, and being able to focus your time is very, very important. I think too many people, and let me pop out of this sharing ever so briefly. There we go, just click that button, wonderful. I think too many people feel like they're butter spread over too much bread, i.e. they're attempting to do loads of things, but they're not getting what they need done. So what we want to do instead is to be a little bit less shotgun, i.e. you're doing lots of different things, and instead getting really laser focused on what matters most to really enable you to move yourself and your business forward. Because otherwise what happens is you end up spreading yourself way too thin, you don't have enough time to get everything done, and then you're frustrated that you're not making the progress that you want. So what we want to do is to be able to make sure that we are utilizing our time effectively and really enabling us to move forward in a much more sustainable way. So with that said, what does that mean for you? If you can be more effective on your business, and our aim is obviously to clone yourself in your business within 3 months, it means you can really start to focus in on what matters most and make things happen. So an example, this is a chap, David. He very, very large business, 9 figures plus. In 4 strategies, we want him back about 25 to 30 hours a week, which is pretty cool. So next step, right? We want to target your niche using AI. Now, what does that mean? For a lot of people, they are too vanilla. What do I mean by vanilla? If we go into an ice cream shop and all they have is vanilla ice cream, unless you love vanilla, which some people do, but you want other things that are different. Now, if you have a store and it's next to hundreds of other stores that just offer vanilla ice cream, unfortunately, you blend in, it's bland, it's the same as everyone else. So what you need to do is you want to be able to find something unique that can allow you to stand out and position yourself in a different way. And ultimately, we can often use AI to allow us to think about what we're doing in a way that can be more impactful. And I want to give an example here. So before I do, obviously, me not knowing my slides, gone on my honeymoon, I'm clearly too relaxed. There are 3 areas to consider when looking into kind of your niche, right? We've got number 1, which is your vehicle. So for a lot of B2B, a lot of our clients, 90%, they're diving into LinkedIn, also looking at emails, but LinkedIn is kind of a primary focus for most people now from a B2B standpoint. Some people do Facebook and Instagram. It's less common, but it obviously depends on who you're targeting. So you need to have your vehicle, then you have your avatar, i.e. your ideal customer persona, ICP, kind of the person that you think is your ideal target market, who you can really help. And then obviously you want to be able to be unique. How do you help them in that unique way? So as an example, this is something that I have my marketer build for us, which is kind of our customer persona. They're usually tech savvy, they're in their crypto or their IT or their tech. Usually they're service-based, i.e. they're a service-based business, they're established, actively hiring, doing something like this. This is an ideal customer persona for us. And you want to build that for yourself as well, so you know who your ideal person is that you can really help. Now, from that, I want to take a step back here. I want to make sure, okay, we're going to be going this through some examples. So when we're coming to an irresistible offer, and this is where I think I'm going to speak about a little bit more about AI and we'll use a bit of an analogy. What's interesting is that if you can focus in on creating an offer that is irresistible, it makes someone want to work with you. And this is where a challenge has occurred with marketing over the past 12 to 18 months. And that is that people are over-promising, so it's actually unbelievable. And the challenge with this is if so we have an unbelievable offer, you lose trust. So it's a fine line. You need it to be irresistible where someone has an opportunity to really give it a go, but not to the point where it stops someone from taking action because they don't actually believe it's possible. And that's a super important line to be able to cross. So as an example, using kind of an analogy here, this is me just chatting to ChatGPT. This is a while ago, this is last year, but it does give a really great example of how you can use ChatGPT. So here I was saying, give me some analogies of people that are stuck as the bottleneck of their business, preventing business growth and wanting to scale up to 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, etc. And it gave some simple ones, but then I asked it to give a bit more humorous analogies, and actually came up with one here. And I can't point to this using my clicker, unfortunately, because you can't see it. But I use my mouse. There we go. Overcooked spaghetti, and I think this is quite funny. So much so, we came up with a call to action here, which I think is quite funny. So if you feel like overcooked spaghetti, where your business is a tangled mess that's hard to manage, it's time to untangle the mess and remove yourself as a bottleneck, so your business can be perfectly al dente. Now, I think that's quite fun. So ultimately, why am I mentioning this? If you can come up with offers or phrases or positioning in a way that can allow you to move forward in a better way, it'll just allow you to stand out to the market. And this is really important because a lot of people are so bland and boring. You need to stand out, and you need to offer something different if you want to be able to stand out from the crowd. So with that said, next, once we have your offer or whatever that's going to be, and I know I gave an analogy, but ultimately from an irresistible offer standpoint, we're looking at some sort of guarantee. We're looking at something that enables you to stand out. If you're doing lead generation, maybe it's that number of leads that you get, maybe it is the amount of ROI someone can get. You want to have some sort of guarantee and make it different, not just a money back guarantee, but something that allows you to stand out. For example, we have a gold mine guarantee that we have. Right. So once you have that, you've got some offer that you think is really going to be able to target your ideal market. You want to be able to set up a 365 CRM system. Now, what do I mean by this? You need to be able to build a system that can allow you to figure out who's in your pipeline, where they are, and allow you to map out their customer journey. So as an example, this is our core pipeline here, and I'll explain it to you guys that are listening on Instagram. So we've got new lead. Once they become a new lead, they'll often book an initial call. Then we will either disqualify them. They could be a no-show, cancelled call. They may be not interested after the call. They could be interested but not ready yet. They could be delayed and like an active nurture. We're not going to spam them with loads of emails, but we're going to just share some emails here and there that we think would add value to them. They may be booking on a second call, waiting on payment, or they'll be like a new VIP or new ELA client. And that's a really cool journey and a pipeline that if you take people to and you can actually understand, it can allow you to break down leads so you know where they are and you can spend time on those that matter most to really either move them across the line, to follow up with them accordingly, but to spend your time effectively versus what a lot of business owners do when they're doing their sales. They really don't know where to focus. So what we want to make sure we're doing is focusing on your core pipeline and understanding at which stages people are and making sure they're automatically moving to each one. And this is where when you pick the right CRM and you can actually find a tool that links it all together, it saves you a ton of time. So for example, like when someone books a call with us, they'll go into the booked initial call stage. Then if they are disqualified beforehand, they'll automatically move. If they're a no-show, they'll automatically move there. If they cancel the call, they go into that. And it's very, very simple to be able to work out what you want to do. And it just makes it so much easier for you to visually see. Now, this is something that works for us. Obviously, you can create your own pipeline accordingly. But you want to make sure that you are building up in a way that can allow you to track your prospects and ultimately have people not fall through the cracks. Because that's the biggest challenge that I think a lot of people face, especially in the consulting business, is you'll have a conversation, there's no follow-up, there's nothing that occurs thereafter, and then unfortunately it's a dead end. So you want to make sure that you are actively engaging people, wanting to communicate, and helping people as best you can to really move them forward. Okay, so next, LinkedIn lead gen on autopilot. So LinkedIn is, as we mentioned, one of the best platforms, one of my favorites. I think it's absolutely amazing what people can do on LinkedIn. And you want to make sure that you are building a system that works best for you so you can create organic leads, you're doing cold outreach, but you're also behaving yourself in LinkedIn's eyes so that you're not getting blocked, because you want to make sure that you are doing things in the right way. So here are some examples of some tools and some things that I think is really effective that my team use, and I know my marketer dives into a lot to really help us to put our lead gen on autopilot and figure out how we can best utilize what's available that's out there. So some things to avoid, just briefly. Evergreen courses. Unfortunately, evergreen courses no longer exist. I don't care who they say they are. The world's changing too quickly, but unfortunately, evergreen courses are a thing of the past. You need to keep upgrading. So this low ticket evergreen course that's like £9 or $10 just isn't the way to build your six-figure business. And it's going to be wasting your time because you're going to spend a lot of time on the low-hanging fruit. We want to avoid that as best as possible. We don't want to be focusing on an evergreen course, right? Next, the Gary V content push. I think Gary V is great. I think, unfortunately, a lot of what he shares can be misinterpreted with this content of people putting loads of content out there. They're doing loads of different things, but unfortunately, nothing's working. And that's because content is just one side, but often it's outside of your control with an algorithm standpoint. So instead, what we want to be able to do is to make sure that you are focusing in on what matters most for your lead gen, not just focusing on just pushing content out there, but making sure it's relevant, you're adding value, and you're doing things strategically in the right kind of way, depending on the platform that you're on. Also, this ads webinar sale, this is like a very common thing that people used to do. Here's an ad, here's a webinar, let's get a sale. Unfortunately, it's become very expensive. I think a lot of our clients at the moment are saying, look, Google ads are way more expensive than they used to be. We want to find a better way. So this is something to consider as well. Maybe you don't want to be doubling down on spending loads of money, but figure out a way to make it work organically. And also a lead gen agency. I'm kind of against lead gen agencies. And the reason why is because it's very expensive. It's out of your hands and it's outside of your control. I would strongly recommend that you bring it in-house so you understand what is going on. It is under your control and you can hire a consultant to help you implement it. But if you can learn to fix it yourself, then you can build a client generating machine in-house. And if you do that, it becomes much easier to have things under your control versus having to pay a lot of money to someone else where you may not be in control of the results. And then if it doesn't work, you don't learn anything from it except money down the drain. So this is why I think moving away from that is a really good call, especially to begin with, because you need to know what you're looking for and you can test things out very cheaply to begin with. So what do you do? So this is what we recommend. Magnetic content using AI. What do I mean by that? You want to make sure that you are utilizing tools to see what works in the marketplace. So there's a lot of AI out there that will tell you this LinkedIn post did really well, or this LinkedIn post didn't do well. So there's some tools out there that I'll kind of go through shortly that I think is worth checking out. You've also got LinkedIn lead gen, being able to connect with the right kinds of people, building a genuine conversation, being able to connect on different platforms, whatever vehicle it is that you're choosing to use to enable you to move forward. And then authentic sales conversations. Now, what does that mean? You need to be able to build into your process a human element. If you can build a conversation with someone that is personable, that you can laugh, that you can relate to them, you'll be much more likely to get them on a call or a conversation with you than if you attempt to do this just by spamming people, pitching people, and doing everything cold. Unfortunately, no matter how good your cold pitch is, most people are going to ignore it unless there is some sort of human element there, because we're getting spammed with it day after day after day. So what we want to do is to move away from the spam and instead genuinely have an authentic conversation with someone, because by doing that, it's going to enable you to, number one, have a lot more interesting conversations, but number two, you're not going to alienate your audience. You want to make sure that you are genuinely being authentic and building rapport in the right way. So as an example, here's just a kind of a couple of tools that I think is helpful. So number one is Taplio. So this is AI generated content. This is quite interesting, being able to generate content on LinkedIn and in just a way that's going to help you to move forward by seeing what's already working, and you can get some post inspiration. So this is really helpful, especially if you've got a creativity block. You can use this as a tool to track your progress, see how you're doing, and move things forward accordingly. And then obviously you can also look into other CRMs, other platforms and systems and automations that can allow you to figure out kind of what's going on from a standpoint so you know where you're going. And what's really important as well is paying attention to your social selling index, because that's basically LinkedIn ranking of like, are you connecting with the right people? Are you posting enough? Are you moving things forward in a sustainable way? So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to your social selling index. Now, next, the organic messaging strategy. So I know I mentioned this a little bit. When it comes to organic, if you can build conversations with people, it's going to be much easier to be able to convert them into high-paying clients. So what does that mean? You need a qualified lead system that is human, where you understand their pain, you're positioned as an expert, and you're booking calls. If you don't have a qualified lead system that can enable you to do this, then it becomes very challenging. So you need to, number one, get good at this yourself. And then number two, be able to train someone else to do this so that you don't have to be stuck doing that all the time. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that do get stuck where suddenly they're on their LinkedIn, they're doing it all the time. It can be incredibly overwhelming. They just get stuck in the inbox versus doing the high level activities. having sales calls, doing fulfillment, and being able to really take their business to the next level. So if you can start building in some sort of qualified lead system, i.e. a way to message people and some steps to go through, it'll have a real big impact. I actually had my team put together a 10-step, kind of 10 steps that we go through with people in order to kind of build rapport, dive into their challenges accordingly. If you want that, feel free to kind of drop us a message just saying 10 steps, and I'll have my team ping that your way. You don't need to email or anything, just so you can kind of check it out and implement it accordingly. All right, let's carry on our little journey here. So next we've got authentic sales conversations. So this is where you need to be able to have a sales call that doesn't feel like a sales call, but you're having a lot of fun. And I think that unfortunately, what tends to happen, and this is, I'll just speak about kind of our ideal client in consulting, because this is like a very obvious thing. They're really good at delivery, i.e. very good at getting things done, delivering on what they promised. They're just really, really good at the product. But because they have no marketing experience, they don't have the leads coming in, and then they don't have the ability to be able to convert someone into a sale, because they don't know how to run a sales call where it's not just turning up and seeing what the problem is and converting it, but instead like understanding a process that you need to go through to then enroll someone in what you're doing, so they're more interested in actually working with you. So this is what's really key, is you want to make sure that you are having authentic sales conversations with your ideal client, because by doing that and building a structure to your sales calls that allows people to be connected and you have that authentic conversation, you will be able to more easily build up to the 6-figure mark and beyond, because you're going to have a structure that is replicable to other people in due course. Super, super important. Okay, next, when it comes onto this, we're talking about kind of authentic sales conversations. There's a few areas that I think people miss out on, which I strongly recommend paying attention to. So the first thing is pre-sale automations. So I'm just going to take my glasses off here, got my blue light glasses, there we go. All right. So when it comes to a conversation, you have a conversation with someone on whatever platform it is, let's say LinkedIn, emails, they book a call. What happens next? You need to pre-sell or have a pre-sales page or something that enables someone to understand what you do, build rapport, show credibility. That's really, really key, so that you really know what you're doing, because a lot of people are on edge. And then from there, they can start to receive other notifications of proof or testimonials, so that when they get on a call, they're already pre-sold and they already know what you do. What you don't want to do is to attempt to sell them when they know nothing about you. Instead, you want to give them an opportunity to buy from what they've read and answer questions. And that would allow you to go above and beyond what's happening for other people. And it just makes it so much easier to be able to move forward. So you want to have pre-sale automations, so your emails, your texts, and then you want to have post-sales call automations. So what does that mean? After a call, you need to be able to answer common questions. Is this really worth the investment? What kind of ROI can I expect? Could you give me an example? And you're actually building in a system, post-call, pre-call, etc., so that when someone looks at it, they think, these guys actually know what they're doing. And if you can do that, you will save yourself so much time doing manual follow-ups, checking in with people, have you made a decision, etc. And instead, you're actually warming people up. Because the truth is, you don't have to get a sale right now, but if you can build rapport, if you can add value, then very often people will come back and they will keep you in mind when they're looking to solve the problem that you can help them with. So with that said, our last step is really removing yourself as the bottleneck. And this is where there's a few different areas here. I won't go into this too much, because once you build a 6-figure business, then it's how do I remove myself as a bottleneck so I can start to scale it up more sustainably, right? So really the key things here, and I'll go through this very briefly, is this. Team SOPs. The biggest mistake, and I'll stop sharing briefly on this. I'd like to kind of dive into this a little bit more. The biggest mistake that I see that business owners make when they're doing their first couple of hires is that they focus on people management instead of task management. The key when you are hiring is you want to hone in on what are the procedures and the tasks that this person is responsible for. How can I keep them accountable? And how do they know what to do so it's very obvious? Too many people get stuck in their brain what they need to do, And instead, what you need to do is to be able to externalize everything that's going on in your business so that it can be replicable by someone else. Too many times people will hire someone, they don't do a good job, and they think, I can't trust anyone. Why? Because they don't have the right SOPs and standard procedures in place to be able to move forward. So this is why it's so important to build checklists, to build these very clear documents of what needs to happen so that anyone can follow it. It becomes very easy to get the same result again and again. So with that said, we will carry on here. Then you want your client delivery on autopilot. If you can consistently create raving fans in your business, you won't just build a six-figure business, you will continually have a business that thrives. The biggest difference that happened for me during COVID is obviously my entire lead gen went down the drain because I wasn't flying around the world. The only way that I managed to go through everything is that I had a few clients that I over-delivered to consistently. They were retained with me for a long time. And by doing that and having a high retention rate, we doubled our retention rate from last year, is that suddenly people are much more interested in staying with you, in working with you for a long time, and then you build a base. And once you build a base and you start to build it up from there, you already have a large chunk of cash that you know is coming in, that you can use to hire, that you can use to start to expand your business. So client delivery is very important to create an exceptional result again and again and again, and make sure it's replicable. Last thing here is about effective team management. Well, what does that mean? It means you need to have the right people in the right seats doing the right kind of roles. Too often we maybe hire friends or we hire people that may not be the right fit. This is where being able to kind of manage the team in the right way and having the right processes in place is really important, so you can start to really build up a team that is sustainable. So with that said, I believe this is coming to the end here. I mean, this is just a quick result of John. He went from like 10K to 50K in 3 months, which is pretty dope. So this is kind of the roadmap that we dived into today. So I just wanted to just briefly show this. Feel free to take a screenshot, etc. Cloning yourself, niche use, targeting your niche using AI. We've got our irresistible offers, our CRM system, LinkedIn lead gen on autopilot, having the organic messaging, authentic sales conversations. Then you can start to remove yourself as a bottleneck and start to scale up thereafter. So with that said, if you are feeling like a bit overwhelmed and stuck in your business and you want to be able to scale more sustainably, feel free to drop us a message. I'm more than happy to kind of explain a little bit more about the process in depth, more tailored to you to really help you move forward. So that's it, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed this live. I wish you the best of luck with scaling and building your business. We are producing a lot of content, or I'm having my marketer kind of help me with a lot of different content at the moment to be able to add value. So if you aren't yet, feel free to obviously join our newsletter. There's a lot of things that we're pumping out to help you guys to start to move things forward. And if you have any other questions in the meantime, let us know. With that said, I'm going to wrap this up and have some dinner.